the turnaround. It has been a light switch moment. Voss leaves, Fraser takes over, 5 wins in a row. What has changed for you in watching Carlton? Where has the development come? Do you believe this team can reach the wild card? And more pertinently, should Josh Fraser seriously consider taking on the role full-time? Should the board be considering Josh Fraser taking over the role full-time? 133 693.
I think at the start, Rich Show, we were saying after 1 or 2 wins, we can't say yet that he's having an effect on the team. It's too early. 5 wins on the trot, though, you'd probably have to say he's having an influence. But I think it's because it seems like he's a very different personality to Michael Voss. Sure, you're nodding your head. They seem like they'd be taking totally different approaches. I mean, this was a downtrodden team that didn't have a lot of hope, whose heads were down, and now they've got freshness, which I think is good for everyone, but also a different personality.
Oh, no doubt. No, look, coaches can wear you down, and you know that I always say, go back to this, but probably a quarter or even nearly a third of your list might not like the coach in place because you're not getting opportunity, your coach has lost faith in you, you believe you're better than what you are, but he's just allowed the freedom in it. Like, they've always been a great contested ball side, but now they're splitting, they're running the lines, they're not worried about making mistakes, and there's no pressure on them because if the old coach was there still, it meant he had already made judgments on players. Now they've got an open slather for the next... See, a new coach comes in, and it's not, say, Josh. Josh would have known their background, but he's not going to have a say, unless he is instigated into that point, of being the senior coach, about the futures of those blokes. So they play with enormous freedom. You can see it in the leadership group. The senior players have probably played the best month of football they've played all year, and probably a couple of years. So, that is it. Well done to Josh, but he said he's not, doesn't want it, but they might talk him around.
I think that's a tactic, saying it just takes the pressure off.
Yeah, it might.
But you just got to just temper it slightly. I think he's doing a great job. He's changed their ball movement. They're not just kicking it long down the line. They had a good DNA to start with the contested footy. He's changed a few positions around. He's brought in some younger players and changed their ball movement. But in saying that, they've beaten Port Adelaide 15th, Essendon 18th, GWS 12th. They're playing West Coast next week.
And then they got Richmond, right?
Richmond, who was 17th and 18th. And the Dogs, who are 8th, right? The good win was the Geelong win, right? That was a really good win.
They've got Hawthorn coming up as well.
So I reckon you just wait, probably. And if they beat Hawthorn, you probably go, wow. But in saying that, I think they're actually winning the games they should have been winning anyway. This is the Carlton that we should have seen all season. This is probably where they're at.
But the fact is, we weren't seeing them win those.
I know.
And clearly the impact that Josh Fraser is having.
Because of their ball movement.
Right? So then is Josh Fraser getting more out of this group? Is the cattle actually there?
I think he's getting out of them what should have been got out of them anyway.
Walsh starring, Cripps starring. George Stewart was struggling to get a game with Michael Voss.
Yeah, well, that was ridiculous. We all said that.
And he was best of field last night.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? This is where Carlton should have been. But they were just playing a game plan, a game style that was outdated. That contest kick-it-long style was good 3 or 4 years ago, but the game's evolved so much since then. You just can't do that. It's too easy to defend. And he's changed their ball movement. He's got them being the Carlton that you probably expect them to be when you look at some of the players they have.
The bigger question you got is when Josh was there as an assistant coach, was he bringing this up and was Vossi? And I feel for Vossi. I feel for anybody who gets out, and I don't like sacking coaches, but was Vossi too ingrained in what he wanted? Pig-headed. Well, you used that word. I did not say ingrained. No, that's nothing. But pig-headed.
But he's got to be strong on what he wants as a coach.
So that's the question. That's the question you've got to ask. Why wasn't it said if now they've changed it that way? Because Josh, as assistant coach, Josh says, okay, I'll bring this up. Was he knocked down too many times? Was it, it never got brought up? They're the questions you got to know behind the scenes.
When I say pig-headed, probably the wrong word, but Michael Voss has to be strong in how he wants the game played.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
For me, the issue is, because people will start saying, well, is Josh the next coach of Carlton? Is he the right guy? It's not so much him saying he doesn't want it. It's just him saying he wasn't ready. I mean, I think that's going to come back to haunt him as a phrase. He gets appointed if there's a world in which he does, but you said you weren't ready. You said you weren't ready for the job. There's one thing to say you don't want a job, and I agree with you, Richo, there's a tactic in that. Yeah. But to say you're not ready for a job, that's not the kind of thing you want to put out there. If you are serious about becoming a senior coach.
He ends up winning 8 or 9 games by the end of the year. He can quite easily say, okay, I think I've had the experience now. I think maybe I underestimated where I was at and I feel like I can do it now. And then apply to go through the process.
I'd want more confidence than that from the outside. Yeah.
That's what I thought in the start.
So you think that rules him out? What he said.
Well, I just think it'll be something that people will remember. And then if you go, in 4 games' time, I'm ready now, after 4 games, I mean, are you ready after another 4 games?
He might have worded it, giving some little out. He might have worded, but I'm with you still. If I'm not ready, it's different than
I don't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if this continues on its current trajectory, they haven't won 7 in a row in a season since they reached the prelims back in 2023. They beat West Coast and Richmond. They've won 7 in a row. Now, that doesn't happen too often in footy.
No.
That's the best winning streak of any team outside of Fremantle at the moment. Now, yes, then they have Hawthorn and the Western Bulldogs a few more tests. But Josh Fraser is winning everything before him at the moment. If that continues, he has to seriously be considered for the role.
He might be part of the process.
He still goes through the process.
They might invite him in to say, how have you done it and what have you done different? And hopefully they've already talked to him about that. That's
going to be really interesting.
Let's hope that they don't just, the fan sort of base pushes them in a direction that they don't do the process.
That's happened before.
Well, you've been through it with the Geesh.
I went through it with Jeff Geeshan, who was a caretaker, and the momentum from the Richmond supporters was so strong that they just appointed Jeff Geeshan.
Released the Geesh.
Yeah, I remember after we beat Carlton, the last game of the year at Princes Park, the supporters were selling badges.
Wow.
Saying unleash the Geesh.
This doesn't feel the same, though. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wonder whether there's a wave of support from Carlton fans.
Paul Roos got it through the fans.
All right, the Fraser Freight Train. It is at 5-0. West Coast and Richmond to come. 7 in a row beckons. G'day, Dom.
Yeah, g'day. Couple of points. It is all coaching. Boss had one style. Contest long down the Rhine bomber, which was totally unsustainable. If you have a look under Fraser, we've gone from being the biggest butchers with a ball since the Smorgans opened their butcher shop in Lygon Street. Time in possession, we're going from 14th to 1st. Control of the ball, bottom 4 to 1st to 2nd. Uncontested marks, 13 to 1st. Uncontested possessions, 14 to 3. We're playing. The reason it's changed is purely the way he coaches. The way he coaches is awesome. And look, he's when they appointed Teague, he won 5 out of the last 11, and there's a big difference. But it'll come back to the last 6 games, right? This is who we play. We play Hawthorn, the Pies, Gold Coast, the Lions, the Saints, the Dogs, and Freo. And all are in Melbourne and most at Marvel. So I think wait till you get to the end of the year. And guys, irrespective, even if he hadn't been appointed coach, when you look at the 10 years that he's done coaching VFL teams and that, is someone you would definitely have a look at. But I think wait to the end of the season, go through the process. The club will invite him. Whatever happens, he will be part of the process. But the way we play is just, we're playing as good a style of footy as any team in the competition. And if you go back and have a look at the way we played early in the season.
Do you agree with that, Shaw and Richo? They're playing as good as anyone in the competition?
The numbers don't lie.
No, totally agree with it.
They've completely flipped around the way that they play. No, they're not kicking it long. They're changing angles. As he said, they're maintaining possession, good control of the footy. But in saying all of that, the initial DNA of the contested footy that they had, that Voss was already there. So he had a really good template to work off, and he's changed their style of ball movement. And it's, as he said, it's the more modern way to play.
The other thing too, if he doesn't get the senior role, he's going to be the longest term assistant role, because they're not going to lose him, are they? They're going to offer him,
way.
And he'll get a pay rise.
Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, g'day, guys. Thanks for having me. And I completely agree with the previous caller. And also with you guys, Richard, about the style of play. So we've already touched base on that. Another thing I want to touch base on is about, the connection with the players and coach. It's evident, when Fraser speaks, I don't know what it is about him. You just want to listen. Now, if you can, if you have that skill, if a coach has that skill where, the players want to listen, you're going to automatically have that connection, which I think, we have with Fraser. And even after the games, some of the commentators have elaborated on, even last night on Fox, where they said, look, you can go find Fraser, get him, So I think, when he speaks, you want to listen, which I think is very important moving forward. And I think with Vossi and the players, I think we lost that connection.
Yeah, no, I reckon that's a great call. If you know Josh Fraser, got to remember he took over Coach Preston when they were the Northern Bull Ants, which were now they're defunct don't exist anymore. But that was a hard period because they didn't have support, not a lot from the AFL or Carlton themselves. And then he did a great job there. He's a lovely bloke, and I reckon he's quiet spoken. He knows he's just so level headed. But yeah, good call.
I think Vossi was very eloquent in his press conferences and then again in the interview after he lost his job. I've always thought he's quite a good public speaker, but there's that part and then there's the locker room part. They're not always the same.
Mark, good morning. Afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Not a Carlton supporter by any means, but I don't think Josh Fraser's window to be a coach is closed just because he says he's not ready for it. I find it interesting, as Richo said, the DNA was there. He's found a way to open it up. There's an exercise called a Johari window exercise where you write down how you think people perceive you. 20 other people write down how they perceive you. Most of us will judge ourselves quite well, perceived very well. Judge ourselves harsher, and Josh Fraser may be one of those. The people that will know that and know that side of Josh will be the closest people to him, and especially Graham Wright. And if Graham Wright thinks he's ready, he's just got to show Josh Fraser, we think you're ready, mate, and we're wanting to back you.
That's an important point from Mark, because we know what Graham Wright was able to do with Craig McRae and putting him in at Collingwood, that if Graham Wright is to say, hold on, we're loving what we're seeing. You may not have thought you were ready, but we have seen enough, and we will put the support around you such that you can be ready. And even if there's a few things to learn in the first few months of next year or during the off-season, we will give you the support mechanisms to ensure that you can
but
succeed.
you've still got to go through the complete process and interview all the other candidates.
I agree with
you
that.
You can't just appoint the caretaker. You've got to see what else is out there.
But it's also the list management and recruiting side of it they've got to sort as well. I mean, they may be factoring in those appointments with who they want in the senior coaching role. So there's a few things going on at Carlton. I will say, Mark, the only situation in which I think you don't judge yourself more harshly than others is on this program. And if you guys wrote down what you thought of me, I could be no guarantee that you would be nice.
I think we do this. I think we might do this in the next break. Just write down what you think of yourself. Is that how it goes?
And then write down what you think, and then
write down, and then we collate it together, and let's see how close we get.
I think we're going to have very big opinions of ourselves and not of each other.